pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing while Councilman Vincero leads us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you continue to watch over our city and that you inspire each and every one of us to do everything in our power to make our community the best possible place to live and to visit. We ask for you to grant us strength, we ask for you to grant us love, and to grant us courage to make the decisions necessary to move our great city forward. And may we always act with the honor and respect that our citizens deserve. Amen. Amen. I'd like to ask if everybody could remain standing for a moment of silence for Mrs. Doring. She is the mother of John and Jim Doring. She just passed away tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vince. So advise that meeting notices covering this meeting have been sent and posted as required under the Open Public Meetings Act. We actually opened the meeting at 5 o'clock. At that time, we retired to executive session. And as we always do, our solicitor, Mr. Cerny, will comment on the topics that were discussed in executive session.
In executive session, the mayor and city council discussed two matters. One is a contract matter dealing with the Atlantic County Improvement Authority and certain grant funds that the municipality has received from that authority. Representatives of ACIA discussed with council three potential redevelopment areas and the development of redevelopment plans for those areas. As that matter goes forward, there will be contracts entered into between the municipality and certain redevelopers in these areas. No specific decisions were made this evening. As this matter goes forward, there will be interaction between council and also matters presented to the Brigantine Planning Board. Of course, those meetings will be public and public information will be made available as those meetings go forward. It is anticipated that this project will begin to move forward in the next 60 to 90 days. Another matter discussed by City Council is a matter of potential litigation. Currently, there is a contract that the municipality has let in regard to the construction of well number 9. Issues have arisen in that construction project, and those issues were discussed by City Council. No specific actions have been authorized by Council at this time, but Council did receive reports from the manager and my office. Additional information will be made available in this matter as it proceeds.
Thank you, Mr. Cerny. Okay, next order of business is the approval of the council meeting minutes and executive session minutes of January 18th, 2017. Have a motion and a second, please.
Make that motion.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, could we have roll call, please?
View? Yes. Reardon?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Sarah?
Abstain?
Simpson?
Yes.
Mayor Gunther?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next, we move to the approval of payroll, requisition list, and operating expenses. Could we have a motion and a second, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, could we have roll call, please?
View? Yes. Reardon?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Abstain on 119, yes to the balance.
Sarah?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Mayor Gunther?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next, I'll open the meeting for public comment. Anyone who would like to address any issues that are on the agenda, please step forward, use the microphone, and state your name and address for the record. Yes, Lisa.
Good evening, everyone. Is this on?
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Lisa McClay, 38 11th Street North. I'm here tonight to address item number 10, ordinance number 3. But before I do that, I just want to give you a little bit of important information about the Green Team, especially for our newly elected council members. I've been co-chair of the Brigantine Green Team since we started in 2013, and I've shared that responsibility with Cheryl Mascholi. I'd like to comment on agenda item 10, the ordinance that affects the Green Team. I feel it is important that I share some aspects of the Green Team with you. The Green Team's successes is due to our team of diverse, skilled residents with passion, perspective, expertise, and interests. Our members are dedicated, giving of their time, and do not get paid. They do what they do because they love Brigantine, the environment, and want to promote sustainability. The Green Team was established in 2013 by resolution, and our members grew from 13 to 29. This does not include the dozens of volunteers who support the farmers market and other events and projects. The Green Team holds monthly meetings, has created a constitution, communication guidelines. For the last 4 years, the team has elected the co-chairs, secretary, and treasurer. We participate in the Sustainable Jersey Program, municipal certification program. The Green Team applied for bronze certification in June of 2014 and was certified in December of 2014. Certification gives us priority on grant opportunities, and it is a prestigious award for the municipality. We will be applying for recertification this June, and it takes time, effort, and knowledge to prepare it. The recertification process entails identifying existing initiatives by the city, updating our actions from 2014, track and document new actions, past, current, and future actions. This requires volunteers with experience in the Sustainable Jersey program and what actions we've accomplished. I'm going to tell you about our fundraising efforts. The Green Team does its own fundraising. The Green Team has applied for grants and has been awarded 2 $2,000 grants, one $10,000 grant for the city for LED lighting upgrades. For 2 years, we've received the Atlantic Care Growing Green grant, and Atlantic Care and local businesses have sponsored the farmers market for the last 3 years. The Green Team has several committees: the Community Garden Committee, the Farmers Market Committee, a newly created committee, the Creative Team Committee. We have a recertification committee, which we are putting together right now for this process. We have a sustainability committee, we have a dune planning committee, and more possibly on the horizon. We've worked with city departments and organizations to identify, document, and complete actions that earn the city points for certification. We've worked with the police department, Clean Communities, on the prescription drug safety disposal, and on shredding days. We've worked with the Department of Public Works, getting points for the Recycling Convenience Center, shrink wrap recycling, energy audit and upgrade, tree seedling giveaways, Clean Communities bag giveaway. The Green Fest is a big action. The farmers market, the creation of the Green Team, dune planting and stabilization. The city had so many existing programs that we had to find and document to get certified, like safe routes to school, our bike pedestrian plan, our strategic recovery planning report and committee. Some of the actions we can earn points for this year, which we haven't documented yet, and that's something I'd like to talk over with the chief in emergency management, is our emergency management and resiliency. The new floodgate can get us action points, the new flood pumps, the emergency communication planning, the master plan, the LED lighting upgrades, the trash and recycle carts, recycling education, community education and outreach every week at the farmers market at the Green Team tents. Creating a creative team and creative asset inventory, which is in progress right now, and that's a big task that some of our volunteers have taken on. Our plastic bag policy at the farmers market, our plastic bottle policy at the farmers market, the initiative of a water bottle refilling station here at City Hall, compost bins for sale for our residents, rain barrel workshop. We can get action points for being a smoke-free community, smoke-free public places, and the community garden. These are some of the things the Green Team has done. The Green Team benefits the city in so many ways. Here are a few more. The Green Team is self-sustaining and operates with no real funds from the city. We market the city. We market the city through the farmers market and through any event that we have on the island. We've brought economic development to the central business district. We've employed residents and employed underemployed residents at the farmers market as vendors. We've done community outreach with organizations for so many events. We promoted local businesses at the farmers market. We grow and distribute fresh produce for homebound seniors and the local food pantry. And during the summer, the farmers from the market have donated countless boxes of produce to Sister Jean's Kitchen via the Presbyterian Church. Members have met with the school to talk about creating a school Green Team. I just wanted you to know some of the things the Green Team has been busy doing the last 4 years. So in closing, in the proposed ordinance, you are proposing 9 members. We have 29. Galloway has 22. Cultural Arts Commission has 13. We simply cannot do all of this work with 9 members. People who have been devoted members for the last 4 years deserve to be appointed by the City Council. 9 members is not enough to successfully do the work we do. I would like to propose that this be amended to 20 members. Like I said, Galloway is operating with 22, and they had more. They trimmed it to 22. In the proposed ordinance, we would like for you to consider increasing the length of appointment terms similar to the other committee ordinances in the city to be consistent. In other Brigantine community ordinances, the committees select their chair. The Golf Course Steering Committee, the Economic Development Committee, the Cultural Arts Committee select their chair. Why is this committee different? I feel that this should change and be consistent with the other committees.
5 minutes is up.
Thank you. One quick question. I was wondering what information will you use in selecting a chair and selecting the members of the Green Team?
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. And I have lists here if you want any of these names to compare with those that you already have.
So, just so we understand what we're doing here, this is an introduction of an ordinance that is formalizing the Green Team. And there is a distinct number of voting members, because one of the questions that came up is how do you ever get a quorum to vote when you have 29 members of a committee? So it's, you know, the quorum requirements and how are decisions made, how are votes made, who is making the recommendation. But this, in fact, could be more inclusive, because one of the charges within the ordinance is to recruit volunteers, recruit other members of the committee. We have a model, something like this, with our Clean Communities Committee right now, where they have voting members and non-voting members. So you have almost a structure where you have an executive committee, if you will, that would vote, and then you have non-voting members who are part of the committee, but you have a definite quorum of people who can vote and make recommendations. If you look at the charge of the committee, there are a number of things that they are asked to do. So there is a clear cut, because I'm not sure how decisions are made when you have 29 members. Do people vote? Do you have a quorum of, you know, over 15 people attending a meeting, and are they the same 15 people? Who votes? Who recommends? So most committees have a smaller number, but that is not an exhaustive number. The overall committee can be much larger, and we would hope that it would be, and obviously by all the things that you've done, it has to be.
Well,
So that is why this is similar. Maybe the number is larger, maybe it's more in line with, maybe it is 13, but it's it has to be some number when you are, you're expending funds. Now, some of those are grant funds, but they do come in and they are accounted for. You are committing city resources for different events. So that should be something that is recommended and voted on by the committee, and then it comes to Public Works is probably where most of it goes, and the police department, and it comes to this body at some point for approval or through the city manager's office. So I think that's what we're looking to do, to bring it more in line with other committees that exist within the city of Brigantine. I don't know if I don't see how you can have a
Right.
voting committee of 29 people.
Well, I'm recommending 20 because we have so many subcommittees.
Well,
But-
subcommittees can exist. They don't have to all be voting members. You can work within subcommittees. They can be volunteers. I think Clean Communities, as I said, is a good example of how that works right now.
Well, I think the Green Team is unique in that we do so many things compared to some of the other committees. We work year-round, we operate a farmer's market, and that committee alone is 8 on that committee.
But when you have a meeting, do you have a meeting with 29 people voting?
We meet every month,
But do you have
and
29
not everyone shows up at the same time, and we don't do a
Right,
lot of,
that's
we don't,
where- that's what
we don't
we're
do a lot of
concerned. You
voting.
need consistency as committees develop, and especially as you've grown. You're into a number of things, and there are a lot of decisions that are made that need to be formalized. And hopefully some of those recommendations will come out in a voice that is voted on by a group of individuals who have been that are assigned as voting members of that committee.
We haven't had any problems in 4 years voting. Everything, if it's not broken, why fix it? And at the first meeting each year is when everyone shows up and we vote our officers. But we haven't had one problem, and everything seems to be running smoothly. We're successful, and we've accomplished a lot. So I think the way we're doing things now are working out great. And again, I'm requesting 20, and I'm sure there'll be other people here who will bring up some other important points to share with you.
Once again, remember, you have a committee that was appointed by resolution. Now you have a committee that is going to be a part of the city law. It's an ordinance that you have a formalized committee. It's a different, as you know, you were a council person, you understand. This is an ordinance, it's within the code of the city of Brigantine. So it's a different process, and we're actually codifying the fact that we have a green team, but we're putting some parameters around it.
And I think that's a good idea. I think that's a great idea. But we should not limit ourselves to 9 voting members, especially if one of the members is going to be a council person, so now you're only appointing actually 8 from the public. So I think it would be nice if you would reconsider that, because a lot of people are volunteer and look forward to all the projects and events that we do. So thank you for your time.
Should not inhibit anyone from volunteering.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, Bob?
Bob Shaley, 102 East Brigantine Avenue. I think I'm old enough now that I can impart some wisdom. My father once told me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't know why you want to move in this direction, so I'm not completely in line here, so I'm going out on a limb, but
Yeah, Bob, I think they're having trouble hearing you. Which is amazing, because you were the MC for I don't know how many years.
geez, they could hear me over a beer. I'm sorry, I am, is this on?
Yeah.
It is. I don't know.
we start singing?
Maybe I don't even. We have a resolution. My feeling is, after reading all this and then hearing what you were stating there, that, we have a very successful program. We have a lot of volunteers.
Yep.
And it may not be as structured as you would like it to be, but it's working. It's working. We've got a lot of successful stories going on. And I just feel you're gonna take the fire out of this program by all of a sudden controlling it. And you will control it because you're gonna be voting for
That's for a voting member. There's no prohibition, once again, against having non-voting. Right now, I don't know, do you vote on every issue?
I vote on issues when I'm here.
Right.
I'm here all the time.
So,
As I said, it's a loose organization, but it's and now you want to put a structure on it. I don't know whether that's the best thing. There are some things in here, I don't want to get into the
Sure.
minutia of it, but, you know, you've got to go through this thing a little more clearly, because it's, a lot of the things we're already doing, all these, under the purpose, we do all this. And I will say that being a volunteer organization, the city, the different departments have been very good at working with us. Whenever we have something we need to do, there's a relationship there. We don't need an ordinance to say, well, this is what we have to do. We're all-
well, if you look, they're pretty general goals. They're not that specific. Well,
specific. I mean, you know, provide input to the city emergency website. Well, we don't want to have a website. If you want the information on the city website, all you have to do is put a link.
right, what, the idea would be to provide information to the city website pertaining to the mission of the Green Team. If you had, for instance, if we did a recycling or a sustainability initiative, somebody, probably the Director of Public Works, would come to you and say, what do you think we should put into this announcement that should go out about that? And it should be linked to the Green Team's website. So it's not like we're asking you to do anything more than what you're doing, just kind of putting some general goals in there.
Well, that's fine, but the ordinance is much bigger than that. It's taking our organization and formalizing it, which, you know, if you want to do that, then fine, it's another regulation that the city has. I think we've got enough regulation with ordinances, we don't need one more, but, you know, I'm just speaking my mind of how I feel this organization, under Lisa McClay, has, if you understand why she got up today, she knows what she's talking about. She has been a driving force here, and now all of a sudden, we may be changing the whole operation of where it works. We have picked the people we feel can run the different operations that we have in the region. That's all. I don't want to,
Well, I think you're saying anything in here prohibits that, Bob. You can still do what you're doing.
well, you're going to be choosing the chairman, and you're going to be choosing 9 people that will be voting. Why can't we, we're doing that already? Why don't we need an ordinance to say that's what
Be-
I don't
right.
get into the whole thing. I just present my point of view. I think we have a very successful program. It's amazing what this group has done with all the volunteers we have. And I don't want to.
And no one disputes that. You know, I think everyone is very happy with what's been done. You're dealing with funds and city resources and things of that nature. You should have something that puts some structure around that, so that,
Just some consistency. It just has to be consistent between all the different committees.
You know, there's liability involved.
Mr. Cerny should ask some of those.
right. Right. And hopefully that would not occur, and I don't know if Ed or Fred, you want to add anything to how this thing works operationally?
I'll start. The first thing I want to say, is when Fred and I looked at putting together the purposes, it was really, we wrote the purposes around what you do. This ordinance in no way was meant to limit, restrict you at all. The purpose is there. We're not trying to burden you. We really tried to come up with purposes that are already known as this is what the Green Team does. So it's not meant to be restrictive or burdensome to you in any way. The number, we had to pick a number. And if you look at our committees that council has formed by ordinance, the numbers are all over the place. Some are 5, some are 7, some are 12, right? So we understand that's something council's gonna talk about and council can consider. We had to put something down to get this forward. The last thing that I would like to bring up, since we're talking about it, is we put it as an advisory committee to the Department of Public Works. And that is because of most of the things that are done with the Green Team seem to align very, very much so with what Public Works is doing, with the recycling, with the clean communities. You know, that mission, those missions are very parallel. And when we look and see what has been going on with the Green Team, a lot of that flows through Public Works, right? So that seemed to make, structurally, seemed to make a lot of sense. We are working with,
Bob, you need to talk in the mic.
What you want to do is formalize the whole
Right.
thing.
Talk into the mic.
Well, I don't think they can you hear me when I'm not on, oh, yeah.
But at home, they can't.
Okay.
They can't hear
I'm
you at
sorry, I'm
home.
trying to- okay. You're trying to formalize something. If that's what you want to do, that's your goal, then fine. I just think that we have an organization that's functioning very well with all the departments, including that department, okay? And we're doing fine. So if you want to change it, that's fine. I'm just giving.
We're
I
not
feel
hoping.
You're trying to structure something that's working well, why fix it?
Right. We're not hoping to change it. We're just hoping that there is some structure in place when you're dealing with city resources and city assets. For instance, you're renting spots on city property for vendors to come in and sell things during the summer season.
Right.
Hopefully, there would be a vote, there would be some minutes, there would be some process that you would outline how you came to that decision. Because the time when someone isn't selected to sell their product on that site, they're coming to us. They're not coming to you, they're coming to us. They're going to Ed Stinson. He's here during the day. And they're saying, why was so-and-so put there and why wasn't I put there? And why is this person doing this and I'm not allowed to do that? So you need to have, I understand that we are very, very happy, all of us, with what has occurred and the energy you've created and what goes on. But when you're dealing with dollars and you're dealing with city assets, you need to have some structure and some process in place when those questions are asked. So what do I tell them now? That's because those questions are asked. And those things, hopefully you can give us, through the structure that you have, those things will be communicated.
I don't want to take up any more of your time. But thank you.
Yes, Cheryl.
Cheryl Masholi, 4116 Atlantic Brigantine Boulevard. I'm one of the co-chairs. I've been for the past 3 years, and there's just a couple of things I want to say in regards to the ordinance. Can you hear me, everyone? Which other people have stated as well. There hasn't been an issue with anything. If you've come to our meetings, you would know we have at least 15 to 20 people at every meeting, every single meeting. And that says something a lot about our team. And people want to feel part of something. And when we started the Green Team, we had people sign up, and people came to the meetings and were so thankful that people actually emailed them and called them back. And to say you're a member of the Green Team is like, it's like your heart and your soul in it. And we do so much. And you can talk to John. John wears 15, 16 caps. I don't know if I was a manager, how somebody else can, he's like the director of everything almost with Public Works. We help him so much. It's really important that you have these members on the team. And if you came to a farmer's market meeting or a Green Team meeting, Linda, our secretary, we have meeting minutes. So you would understand that there are 15 to 20 people that go to these meetings. The farmer's market committee meets almost every week. They vote. There's documents on how vendors are selected, why they're selected, what the whole process is about that. And when I read this, I don't understand some things because you talk about a valuable asset. Well, we put the value into that asset. We're the intangible asset. Sustainable Jersey is almost like a 2 to 3 year rolling program. It's like 80 to 120 hours to fill that certification program out. Between me and Lisa, we did that all. I don't know who you want to select because then they're responsible for it. And to actually sign up and be listed on the Sustainable Jersey site and go in there and fill out all that matrix out, you have to be a Green Team member. So if you're not a Green Team member, who's going to want to do that? Like, you need somebody who wants to do that and to take the time to do that because it's valuable for our city. We get grants. You know, there's a lot of good things that we do. We have 15 to 20 people that come to our meetings every single time, and that says a lot. We have part-time members like Bob. I can't believe anybody would say that like he couldn't be on the Green Team because he does so much for the city, and he's proud to say that. It's weird that the city council should appoint the chair of the Green Team because you need a good leader, you need a strong leader, you need someone who understands the Sustainable Jersey program. It's not an easy program to navigate. And when I read this, it makes me think that maybe we don't know what it really is because to serve one term doesn't really do anything. Some projects go 3 years. So you have to be able to be on the Green Team for a certain amount of time. And just in my point of view, you know, I don't like politics or anything, but this just seems really politically motivated because what I'm seeing is that there are people that want to be part of something and that want to run it and have done such a great job at it, and you might not even put them on the team anymore. And that just kind of like discourages people. And I really don't think that's fair. And I think Lisa is the perfect person for this job because she wants to do it, she's passionate about it. And a couple weeks ago, everybody stood up here and gave her an award for all the work she's done over the past couple years. So, like, I think that's fair, and she's the person that put in so much value to this asset. And it's just discouraging to see this all come out, and it makes you seem like you're trying to control something.
Thank you.
That's all I'm going to say right now. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Hi, John Adrizzo, 2100 Ocean. Good evening, everyone, and Mayor and Council. I just want to keep it really short, so I'm going to read what I have here. So I'm here to support the Green Team, obviously, a club that I've been involved in for several years now, and especially the group's incredible leadership. Without direct funding from the city, our Green Team has been able to develop itself into a best-in-class environmental organization, leading numerous activities, as have been mentioned, farmers market, community garden, etc. I hope that the City Council, which it sounds like they do, fully understands the hard work and the dedication that the Green Team volunteers do and have, and allow the team to continue its run of success. As has been expressed several times, we're a group of people who are passionate about the environment, but also brigantine, and I just hope that you will consider to accommodate Lisa and the team's request for 3 things: for our ability to elect our own officers, for appropriate term lengths, and also for the necessary number of voting members so that we continue to grow and progress the activities that we do. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yes, John.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. John Pucci, 100 Sheridan Square. I did not be speaking about this, but on the current topic, I'm a member of Clean Communities. I'm in my 2nd year of 1-year terms. We have 2 co-chairs. We have, I believe, 5 voting members, and then we have multiple volunteers assigned to the committee. Seems to work. Seems to work very well. We get through all our functions, excuse me, and that works. However you decide, I'm not suggesting one way or the other, but I ask that you just be consistent. In other words, if things are changed tonight for one particular committee, I think you have to re-look Clean Communities and certainly extend the terms on them and make the same parameters for all the city's committees. So I'm just asking for consistency of them all, however you should so decide. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And,
What-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But what I came up here for is, I support Connie Plyatt's artwork request. I think she has been fabulous and tireless to increase the arts in Brigantine. You know, when times are challenging, it seems like the arts are the first thing to go. But she has worked against the tide this past year, excuse me, and had many art events in Brigantine, which are also correlated with our Cultural Arts Society to make Brigantine a wonderful place to live. So I support her requests submitted, and also some of her artwork weeks, the profits have gone to most, if not all, veterans organizations. A portion of the artist profits have gone to veterans organizations to support the veterans of this city. So as a veteran, I also support Connie Plyatt's request for her artwork to be held at Hahnemann Park throughout the summer. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
And I agree, she's done an incredible job with the art walk. It made for a wonderful summer between the farmer's market and the art walk. There was always something to do. Yes?
Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Good evening, Mayor and Council. Melanie Lynch, 1018 West Brigantine Avenue. I was wondering if I could just take one moment to say nice reusable water bottles. And for those of you who are new to council, we'll be working on you. You'll get to know me real well. I'm all about reusable and not disposable. I was wondering if I could ask some questions about ordinance number 3, item 10. So that I'm clear, are we talking 9 voters or 9 members?
No, 9 voting members. You could
9
you can have
voting
as many
members.
members as you want.
150 members?
Your constitution, as it is now, states, I don't even remember how many the original number is, but then Friends of the Green Team. So it just shores up that voting issue.
Okay, all right.
I mean, we
so-
could define if you want in the ordinance. That's why we have it at, well, the way the meeting is, we talk about it now. We'll probably wind up talking about it a little bit later as well when we introduce it. But 9 voting members, and if you want the ordinance to define how many other members you could.
But we don't care how.
Quite frankly, I don't care how many members you have.
The
It's,
bigger the better.
More the better, right?
They're
Okay.
not limited to the number of members that are on the green team.
I think that that's where there's been some confusion.
Right,
There was
I think so,
confusion
too.
on my end as well. Heading into the meeting, I thought that it was limiting strictly
No,
to
it's
10
not.
members
No,
total.
it's not an
Absolutely not.
ex-
There's no way 9 people could do all the work that you do.
Okay.
We know you work hard, we look, the farmer's market, everything you guys do. We are 110% behind you. We
Okay.
just have to get some organization into it because it's run on city's property. And God forbid, something ever happens, they're coming after people with the deepest pockets. So if we have an organization under advice of our attorney, we have to do this, And it's not to handcuff you, nothing like that. We want you to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and everything you guys do is absolutely off the charts, fantastic. There's no complaints whatsoever.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you for taking the time to explain that. So, and again, so that I'm clear, this is consistent with other committees
Well,
that
they're-
serve the
they're-
township?
Not
the
necessarily. There's
recreation.
some committees that are, what is recreation now, 15 members? They're,
With how many voting? If we could break it down like that, just so I have an idea, so.
right. So they've all been set up over the years at different times, and, I mean, some of them were set, believe it or not, were set up even before I got here. So they are, they've been here for a number of years. So is there a consistent formula for every committee? I would say no. They vary. And
Based on size.
based on some of the committees, the council appoints a chair, others, they don't. So that's, where we are right now with it.
Okay. So, that being said, was the question answered about how the voting members were going to be chosen? Did I miss that?
They would be selected by council, like all the members of the Green Team are selected.
Council appointed.
People suggest they want to serve, or, we were given a list of people who are interested, and then from that list, you select. Now, obviously, you have a number of people already who are on the Green Team, so it makes it easier, because they're already there.
Right, if you come with 50 people, if you want us to name all 50 people, we'll name all 50 people. But there has to be a consistency on the voting. If you want 20, I really don't care, to be honest with you. It's whatever you people want. But we have to have a consistent organization in with the city ordinance.
And is that, again, how it works with the other committees? Those
Well,
committees do
No,
not...
they never ever complained about how many
I
people are on
mean,
there
certain
and stuff
committees
like
are
that.
set up by statute, for
Right.
boards, I should say. The planning board, planning and zoning board, there are a definite number of members there by statute. The recreation, as I said, I think is 15 members right now. Ed, anything else you can think of that?
But you can go beyond that, because there's people who want to volunteer beyond what the statute's set up, and they're just put on as non-voting members. I think the Recreation Board actually has a non-voting member now, because there's somebody who wanted to be involved, and I think there's 15 spots, and he's the 16th person. So it's a way of kind of going beyond. And one of the things I want people to understand too, I don't think we're trying to limit anybody's ability to be on any committee at all. Like, and I kind of, listening to the conversation, I feel that there's an assumption that we're limiting people, and we're not. We're defining voting members versus non-voting members, but I don't think we're trying to exclude anybody. And I know what we look at for those committees is the recommendations made by the committee. And I'm pretty sure we were given a pretty substantial list from the Green Team of who you guys would like on the committee.
Okay,
So
so
I-
voters
And you can have
come-
all your subcommittees and everything like that. My recommendation would, if you guys want 20, why don't we just do 15 voting members and 5 alternates? So you have you can, if somebody doesn't show up, the alternates can vote.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
Wait,
All in favor, say
wait, I've been sharing my talking time.
Fred, change that ordinance up. Fred.
Can't do that by resolution, yeah.
Okay, so it sounds as if, and sometimes I have to repeat back so that I'm clear. It sounds as if the voters who will be chosen by council will be coming from a pool, an eligible pool, of both current Green Team members, other individuals in the city,
Who?
Yeah,
and then
Could
the
be
community.
anybody who is, a resident.
Volunteered or whatever.
People
Yeah, people who
have sent
volunteer,
letters
people you
in.
guys recommend. Yeah.
Right,
No.
it really seems there's a big fear that council wants to overthrow the Green Team. Everybody loves the Green Team, we love the farmer's market, and it's great to see the passion for so many people to show up here that care about Brigantine, as we all do, and anybody that's in this room or even watching at home on TV. So I just think it's outstanding, and I appreciate, I was with Bob there planting dune grass myself a few months ago, and it's a great thing, and there's no need to worry about what's going to happen, or everything's going to be fine.
And we can always amend any ordinance if we see a problem. You guys come and say, we got a problem with this, we'll amend it, if it's
How
need to be.
easily does that happen? Amending an ordinance?
We do it all the time.
We're gonna do
Looks
it
like
just
we're gonna-
along
we're
with
gonna
the
amend
traffic
this
lights.
Just
No,
curious.
the idea is to try and get this right.
Right,
So-
right out of the gate.
You have to start with some document. That's why it goes
Yeah.
through a process where it's introduced, can be modified. But it's better to do some of these changes before it's introduced, because it'll be a cleaner process after that, and then it can be adopted. So I guess one of the suggestions that's been made is to make it a 15-member board. Now, Recreation, they're appointed for one-year terms.
Right.
Clean Communities are appointed for one-year terms. It's typically not a problem. What we do find, though, is there are some people who are appointed that perhaps lose interest or decide that this isn't something they want to do. And you have other people who are still passionate about it, they want to continue on. Typically, what happens is the chairperson of that committee, or in the case of Recreation, our Recreation Director is the director of the Recreation Board. He doesn't vote, but he is the city resource at that board, and that's what's proposed in this ordinance, to have John Doring be the the city resource at that board who would attend those meetings. We get, at the end of the year, we get a report typically on the members who have participated. So if someone doesn't attend any meetings, we usually reach out to them and say, was something going on this year that you had a problem? You know, it could be illness or whatever. Is there a reason? Do you want to continue to serve? A lot of people will say, no, I don't want to continue to serve, and thank you for reaching out or whatever. So that's the kind of the process we go through with most of our boards. I have to tell you that the attendance at the majority of our boards is very good, and I don't anticipate you would have any problem with that. And the nice thing about having alternates too is you won't have a quorum problem, especially with a board with 15 members. So it should be, you know, and it's good. I mean, we get the minutes from the Recreation Commission. They let us know what they've talked about. We take their input when we do recreation projects here in the city of Brigantine, or the use of our recreational assets. I think that's what we're looking to do with the Green Team. And there's all of the things that you presently do. Obviously, we would encourage you to continue to do, and also to reach out for more volunteers who want to join you. And that's,
Okay.
you know, the more people, the better, and it looks to me like you don't have any shortage of interest.
No, and just to close, because I know I need to close here. Again, I think the concern was initially when it first came up, and it was thought that it was limiting the number of members. You know, why limit community pride, community enthusiasm, you know, that sort of thing. I do want to just say a couple of things, though. I don't know currently if you have any Sustainable Jersey grants, if that's money that you do hold, but the Sustainable Jersey grants do come directly from the actions that are completed by the Green Team. So I understand that it may be city-held, but it was Green Team raised, if you will.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but there are things that the city does, like the floodgates that Lisa mentioned, and flooding that, you know, I mean, that the city does also to get to a silver or gold in the community. So it's not just
Yes.
all just the Green Team.
No,
It is the
and that
city
is
also,
not,
right?
that was not my intention, so good
Oh,
call.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You know,
No,
I just- yeah.
just the fact that we are in that Sustainable Jersey year. I know currently I'm working on Sustainable Jersey grants for Galloway, and some are quite substantial. So it's just a wonderful thing to stay on top of, and we will need that support. The last thing I'll just close with is to consider Lisa as chair, as co-chair. Lisa and Cheryl founded this Green Team. They have put in countless hours and energy, and the farmers market being a subset of that. She is our leader, has been our leader. I think when you look up to someone like that, with all that she has done, it would be sad to not have that figure in front of you, leading you as she has been. So I end with that. Thank you for your consideration, and keep up the reusable bottles. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments on any agenda items? Yes, Mrs. Phillips.
Oh, thank God, Paul. A little slow at the liquor store.
Ann H. Phillips, 308 27th Street, the same item. Brief comment. I ask that council proceed very cautiously with tinkering and tampering with two highly successful enterprises, the Green Team and especially the Farmers Market. Both have been initiated and well-managed by many hard-working volunteers. You don't want to do anything to diminish their morale and their effectiveness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Okay, any other comments on agenda items? Okay, yes, Shirley.
Shirley Morgan, 4800 Harbor Beach Boulevard. I would just like to say that as a member of the Green Team, which I'm honored to be, I would like to thank Cheryl and Lisa for all of their devotion and dedication to the city and all of the hard work, and they put in a lot of hard work along with the other members, and I hope we continue this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Yes, Donna.
Donna Bukarski. I almost said my Philadelphia address, 201 30th Street. I do live in Brigantine. So I just wanted to clarify some things, Mayor, because you asked about a process. So I'm a member of the Green Team, and I'm also on the Farmers Market Committee, as you all know, because I wrangled people for volunteer all the time. But as a member of the Farmers Market Committee, there are about 9 of us that are on that committee. And, you know, our records are certainly viewable to the public, and we do have detailed procedures on how vendors are selected. We do follow the Sustainable New Jersey guidelines that talk about the percentage of vendors that should be produce and food products, and the percentage of vendors. In order to get points, you need a percentage of vendors that are farm-related products, as opposed to jewelry and artwork and other things. So we try to maintain that balance, and we do follow strict guidelines in selecting them. I don't want anybody to think it's, you know, capricious and arbitrary, that we just sit around going yes, no, that we do look at the guidelines and the number of vendors that we have, how many are returning from last year, what open spots do we have, and then make decisions based on those guidelines. But all of those documents are certainly available to anybody who wants to see them. And we do keep minutes. Linda Congemi, in fact, is our secretary, and she does an excellent job.
She does a wonderful job.
Of typing those minutes, and they are all available, and we gladly share them with anyone that wanted to see them.
And Donna, thank you. I know how hard you work. You're out there every weekend. Just that, what you just explained to me right now, I think this process will help educate everyone.
Right.
Because, you know, that's something we need to know. You know, because they're gonna call, like I said, when there's a complaint, it usually comes to one of us.
Surely.
And we pass it on to Ed. But that's how, you know, I mean, what you just explained about your process and the Sustainable New Jersey points and all that, I think that's exactly what we need to know. And
right. And
to be honest
that's
with you,
why
I don't
really
have
wanted
the
speak
time to
tonight.
go ask all those questions. It would be great if the minutes would come in and you know, we could look at that and know. The other thing that amazes me is, can you imagine them writing the Sustainable New Jersey legislation?
No.
Because what you just talked about is so complicated, it has to be a rather interesting piece of
Yeah,
legislation.
there are pages and pages
Yes.
in those guidelines for every action item, and the farmer's market is just one action item with tremendous regulation and guidance behind it if you want to get those points for Sustainable New Jersey. So we do follow those guidelines. As I said, all of that documentation. So without being organized, we are organized.
Right.
In our own little way. So again, those documents are available. The same with our financial documents. I mean, I bugged the heck out of Roxanne and Karen Blowers. All the people at the city have been wonderfully helpful. We understand the new process. They are working with us to work through those things, and we are organized in sort of an informal way, but we are organized, and I maintain a lot of those records, so anybody who wants to see them, they are available.
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments on any agenda items?
I'd like to say something right now. Cheryl, do you want to be a co-chair? No, Cheryl.
This year, just because my business and everything, I'm not going to take the co-chair responsibility.
Okay.
I would like to be a member. I wouldn't mind being an honorary member, but I would like to be a member. That's important to me.
Okay. My recommendation would be, and when we get to item 10, would be 15 voting members, 5 alternates. Lisa McClay is the co-chair or the chair, and she can pick whoever she wants to pick for the 20 people.
And
no problem, Lisa.
That's huge.
Yeah, you got that right.
And the other thing is, until this ordinance is finished, the green team continues under the present structure. So
One more meeting.
It continues as a body, the way you were structured last year with the same membership and all that, until we actually put a new ordinance in place and the other, and people are named according to that ordinance. So it is in place.
And just so everybody knows too, like when we talked about the green team and talked about the chairs, I reached out to several members of the green team to ask who you guys would like to chair. And obviously, you know, I was told that Cheryl that you weren't able to do it this year, but every single person I talked to recommended Lisa. You know, and there was another recommendation. Obviously, I'd like to talk with Lisa and the green team before I put that out publicly to make sure that you guys are okay. But everything that we've tried to do has been in the best interest of the green team in maintaining what you guys have. We support your program 100%. You do great things for the city, and we're not trying to hurt anybody. We want to make sure that this runs well, that this works well, and that we have input from the green team members. So that's something that we've taken great care in as we've moved forward. And I know we've had conversations as council members to make sure that we can maintain what you guys have established. And I think that's very important for everyone to know.
Can I just jump in?
Go ahead.
As the council representative, it is not politically motivated, what is going on here. I hope you realize that it's not. We're just trying to make everything consistent. And I've said all along that Cheryl and Lisa, the knowledge and the time that they put into this committee is unbelievable. There's no way I would ever have enough time or the knowledge to step into something like that. And it takes unique individuals to do this job. And I thank you both for doing it, and Lisa, thanks for stepping up again, and hopefully we can find you a good co-chair. I think we've got somebody, I know there's somebody else that wants to work on with you.
Okay, we're going to move into the rest of the agenda. I'm going to close the public portion on agenda items. We have ordinance number 1 of 2017. It's a public hearing and adoption amending Chapter 284 of the Code of City of Brigantine for vehicles and traffic. And this is amending Section 1, Section B of Section 1, Caverly Drive to its southerly intersection with West Shore Drive, establishing a stop there, and also allowing for parking on 14th Street South. On the north side from Ocean Avenue to the bulkhead.
Mayor, if I could,
It's actually on Lafayette and Caverly. Yeah.
correct. The purpose, what the ordinance does, in essence, is authorize a 4-way stop at the intersection of Lafayette and Caverly. The first change is to section 43, which is Schedule 7, which just identifies Lafayette Boulevard as a through street. And it did say from Bayshore Avenue to North Shore, but because we're putting a stop sign at Caverly, we say now Lafayette is a through street from Caverly to North Shore. So that's the first change. Second change is to section 44, which is the stop intersection, and that is identifying Lafayette and Caverly as a four-way stop. It also formally changes the ordinance for the intersection of Revere Boulevard and Brigantine Boulevard, which is right by where CVS is. That used to be a yield sign. Several years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, it was changed to a stop sign, but the ordinance was not amended to reflect that change. So this picks up that as well. And then, as you said, Mayor, the final change is to the parking prohibition, which was on the beach block of 14th Street South. It was a restriction of evening parking from 10 p.m. through, I think, 5 a.m. And this ordinance eliminates that restriction, so you can park there.
So we're amending 2 ordinance?
One ordinance.
One ordinance that addresses these changes.
2 items.
3 items.
3 items.
Yeah.
See that?
Okay.
Boom.
And we see a little change in the lighting here?
Yeah, it's, yeah.
It's been out for 4 years. I've been in the dark for 4 years.
Okay, can we have a motion and second, please?
It's fading in and out.
So moved.
Second. Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the public participation on ordinance number 1 of 2017, amending chapter 284 of the Code of City of Brigantine. Anyone who wants to speak on ordinance number 1, please step forward and use the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no public participation on ordinance number 1, I'm going to close the public portion. Are there any council comments?
I have had some thank yous for the stop sign, the 4-way stop sign at Lafayette and Caverly. The people in the neighborhood are very, very happy that something's being done.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Well, do you want to speak on ordinance number 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to participate on 2 things, but I do have a question on the parking on 14th between Ocean and the bulkhead. I just want to make sure that like safety was considered in that, because obviously it's always with so much traffic during the day coming off the beach. I thought that was a reason why there was no parking on Ocean blocks.
Thank you. The restriction, as it existed prior to this ordinance, was you were permitted to park up until 10 p.m. at night, and then parking was prohibited from 10 p.m. through 5 a.m.
Okay,
So we're just removing that restriction. You can park there now 24 hours a day. So the parking during the day was permitted.
Okay, and just for my own clarification, because I do live on a beach block, is the reason just because of the need for spaces, because of the hotel that 14th Street is open, but all the other ones are no cars at any time?
That is likely a large part of the consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, could we have roll call, please?
You?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Mayor Gunther?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, now we go to ordinance number 2. It's an introduction. This is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits to establish a cap bank. Could we have a motion and a second, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, this is a lengthy ordinance that is provided a sample by the state of New Jersey, stating the statutes that allow for this, and I'm going to turn it over to our chief financial officer to explain that we are not creating a budget that's going to exceed the municipal cap.
No, Mayor, this is normal annual procedures and actually a precautionary measure. Just as a guideline and background, maybe for some new council members, the budgeting process encompasses 2 major caps.
One is called the levy cap, which you're all aware of is a 2% calculation. The other one is called an appropriations cap. And part of the budget is broken in, well, the budget's broken up into two major parts. Appropriations that are within the caps and appropriations that are outside the caps. And what this ordinance allows, it allows you to operate and to increase appropriations as needed. It doesn't necessarily say that you're going to use this cap bank and they're going to increase by this amount, but it gives you the flexibility. Included in appropriations that are inside the cap are things such as health benefits, salaries and wages, pension. So those things could add up and tilt your budget, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will impact your tax rate. So it's very good common practice that the state establishes what the increase can be on a yearly basis, and their increase this year is only 0.5%, which would only give us about $116,000 increase in those line items. So this allows us to exceed their designated increase, put it in a cap bank, and if we need it, we can use it. If we don't, it lasts for 2 years and then it expires. So it's really a precautionary measure to allow us to operate the way we have to and need to cover our expenses.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion by council? Okay, seeing none, could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Reardon.
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
DeLucre.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we move to ordinance number 3 of 2017. It's an introduction establishing the Sustainable Brigantine Green Team as a permanent advisory committee as amended. Could I have a motion and a second, please?
So, second.
I understand the membership, 20, I mean, and I can make that change, 20 and, or rather 15 with 5
15
alternates.
and 5.
In terms of the selection of the co-chair, I understand that this year it will be Lisa, and that she will actually select the rest of the members.
No, she will select the co-chair.
She'll select the other co-chair.
Co-chair, yes.
Okay. So what we are doing, council is appointing Lisa as the co-chair and will then confirm her selection as the other co-chair. Is that where we are?
Can I make a suggestion that Lisa makes the recommendation to council and then
And council makes it.
Right, the other thing we could do is just let the green team select their own chairperson.
Yeah.
Now that makes sense.
That way, yeah, we can, if you want to do that, that might make it
I
cleaner.
thought that's what I said.
It's fine.
The voting members of the green team would select the chairperson. So just
Okay,
take that
so-
piece out.
Okay, so in terms of doing the amendments, it will now say in terms of selection of a chair or 2 co-chairs, that decision resides with the 15.
Yes.
Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to know how to clean it up.
Okay.
So what you are doing, what council's now doing, is as you are introducing it with those changes, so it will not be necessary to amend if that's what you want. Just go
Yes.
ahead and introduce it,
Okay.
knowing that that's what this thing now says.
Yeah, we can't amend anything.
Well, how does that, I guess the other thing too, how does that connect then with the Director of Public Works? Because I know when it comes into the process of funding and POs, is there any changes with that, or is that staying the same?
So as the ordinance is presented, the green team would be an advisory committee to the Department of Public Works.
Okay.
And the Director of Public Works would supervise and oversee, and purchases, the purchase order,
POs, all that.
all of that would flow through.
There is no change in that. What you have in front of you is the way that would still stand.
Okay. Just making sure I understood.
Director of Public Works is not a voting member, but is like you are to the Economic Advisory Commission.
I have one more question on the ordinance and then a more general observation. The last 2 bodies that we created, prior, of course, to Dennis and Mike being here, each established 3-year terms for the members, speaking of course about the Golf Course Committee and the Economic Development Committee. If consistency is our goal, should this also be, or should these also be 3-year terms? Not all at once.
Well, I mean, the consistency, I guess, with what we've done recently, but we do have 1-year terms in other committees. Some of them, and we'd have to go back and do the research, but like, Clean Communities is set up, I don't know how in-depth that is by whatever enabling legislation there is for that.
I think we're doing as close as possible to the Recreation Committee.
Yeah, numbers are the same as the Recreation Committee,
Right.
the only difference is I think we select the chair for the Recreation, it's always been that way.
Well,
Well,
again,
we already selected the chair, which is my recommendation, was Lisa.
if our long-term goal is to be consistent, the way the ordinances or the code reads with respect to everybody other than the ones we're talking about tonight and golf and economic development is just that we select the membership and does not specifically authorize us to designate officers within there. So, I mean, I would favor, for any given body that we create, that let the members pick their own officers. They're the best qualified to do it. That can be for a future time. But if the analogy between the Green Team, or for the Green Team, is to the Recreation Commission in terms of the 1-year term, I'm not sure that's a real compelling argument. If there's a genuine distinction in function between the two most recently created bodies where we gave 3-year terms and the Green Team, such that a 1-year term might be more appropriate for the Green Team, then I'm certainly open to hear that, but...
Well, I think and Fred, you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think with economic development, we had staggered terms in the beginning, so you don't have, it gets a little confusing with a 15-member board, and you have people moving in and out, moving out, we had, with economic development, it's a much smaller board, but you had staggered terms, or 1-year terms in the beginning, 3-year terms, it's just a lot easier to put everybody on for 1 year and then put them back on for the next year. They want to continue to serve.
It's not that complicated, but okay.
The Clean Communities is a 1-year appointment. The Municipal Alliance is a 1-year appointment. What has occurred for the past several years since the Green Team has started have been 1-year appointments because council's been doing it by resolution each year. So that's just the groundwork. That's where we got to where we are now. Looking at that.
I know Lynn
that's why it's
appreciates the
established.
1-year anniversary appointment, so she has to figure out who's going on, who's going off.
They would like 10-year terms. The other comment I had, and it doesn't affect the language of the ordinance, and Mike went part of the way down this road, but I think one of the things that the current members of the Green Team want to hear council say is that the returning members, or those who wish to return, are going to get first preference and first look on appointments to all 20 slots, which again is consistent with what we've done with other boards since I've been here. And I know there was a list provided to us at the last meeting or before the last meeting that indicated that there were 20 or more returnees very interested in being reappointed. So I think we should give deference to the wishes of those who have been there and been doing the work for the last 3-4 years.
Okay, any further discussion?
That's a...
Another voting.
Yeah.
Another voting. You can
be a member of the
volunteer.
team.
You can be a volunteer, but just not a voting member.
Well, can we talk about that, though? Why would we
Does that
not
matter
want
to
to
you?
Does it
allow...
matter? I don't know. Fred, does it matter from a legal standpoint?
I mean, he's been
No,
here
there's-
so long.
No, there's no legal prohibition.
I had hair when I knew him.
Yeah. Why can't we have it distinguish those who are, let's say, eligible to vote in town from those who are either full or part-time residents? Because I gather Bob is a part-time resident, right?
15 and 5.
15.
Yeah. I'm saying, no, that's a good question, but I think if council agrees, we could define residents for our purpose to be full or part-time Brigantine resident. Doesn't mean you have to be a voting resident.
And I'm sure even with the with the farmer's market, you have summer resident volunteers as well. Right, yeah.
Got that right.
Is that all right?
I don't care.
Is that-
How would you like it to be? I can write anything. If,
Bob Shaley's the only one out of town.
Put it as a Shaley amendment.
Yeah. Another amendment? I thought we didn't do that.
The,
Is there any prohibition to it? Like, is there any prohibition to having,
no, I mean, this was drawn the way it was drawn, and it was drawn based on city residents. If you want to strike that word, I can just have them appoint 15 members, and that's the end of it.
And then you decide where you go.
so people would be able to be recommended for the committee, then council would determine going forward, I guess, what that committee would be. But then we're saying that there wouldn't be any limitation to residency.
I think we should have a special waiver.
Would not prohibit,
Yeah.
okay, that's,
So,
Still have the choice. You would make a decision. The ordinance
would not prohibit it.
okay, but that kind of leaves us where we are.
Yep.
Why can't we just say it's open to full or part-time Brigantine
Yeah,
residents?
that's what we said.
Yeah,
Why
it
do you
sounded
have
like
to
it was saying
make
that
the distinction?
it would come back to us, and maybe they have a list where you have, let's say, 10 full-time and 10 part-time.
you might
Then we
want to
can
just
pick
take
and
it
choose.
out altogether.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Do we
just
want the
take-
word
I don't know if
resident
any
in
of our other
or out?
committees-
We can take it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what's a part-time resident? Okay, so, Mayor, am I correct? We're taking the word resident out.
I'm looking at the code, I don't see, maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see where it says, like, for clean communities, that you have to be a Brigantine resident. I think we know it's implied, but I don't know if it's directly stated.
Cultural arts does say, each member shall be a resident of the city.
Yeah, so does recreation.
Is it a big deal? A person can still be on the committee and work and volunteer? Is it, I mean, do you want to,
Yeah,
you know?
that's why most legislation's not done this way.
Wait,
It's a, yeah, just leave it the way it is. We'll figure out that, we'll get Bob,
Bob, you want
you'll
to
be
go on
fine.
there? You can
Wait,
vote
wait.
whatever you want.
But hold on, this is not just about Bob. Let's end our involvement with this part of it. If we want to limit it to full-time voting residents, and I don't think anybody up here does, then leave the word residents in, or let's specify that resident means anybody who lives here, full or part-time.
I
Or
think-
take it out altogether.
I don't think you want to go down that road for, yes,
What
for
road
other
is that?
issues.
I don't think anybody would have had an issue if Lisa appointed Bob to the board. I don't think it would be a problem right now. You know, we don't, if it wasn't defined, you know.
Right.
I don't think so, but, right.
Okay, can we move on and leave it the way it is?
Yeah, leave it the way it is.
Yeah. Okay, I sense a readiness to vote.
Yes.
We've had a motion and a second. Could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. Ordinance number 4 of 2017 is establishing the Brigantine Beach Committee as a permanent advisory committee. Have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Same point on this one about the designation of who appoints the chair. I think it should be the committee, whoever's on the committee should do that. And secondarily, with respect to the number of members, the current formulation has a number of representatives from city departments and, you know, quite frankly, and no disrespect to the non-city employee members of the beach committee, most of the important input comes from police representative, public works representative, lifeguard representative. So I think we might want to specify that they are, whether you make them regular members or, you know, ex officio, it doesn't really matter, but that they are part of the beach committee.
So the manager attends along with the other departments that are impacted?
And I don't recall from the resolution if we specified before, but the departments that attend regularly are police, fire, public works, and the beach patrol, and most meetings will have a representative from the beach tag program as well.
All right, the suggestion has been made, by Councilman DeLucre, that the committee chooses its own chair? We okay with that? You all right with that? Yeah. Okay, so let's change that part of it too, Fred, if you would.
This long it ain't Councilman DeLucre.
And do we have to specify in the ordinance the different city department representatives who are there, or they just added as non? Because I kind of assumed they would be included if they're not specified in the ordinance.
They are not voting members. Or
Right.
are they voting members, what I'm saying?
Non-voting
They're
members.
non-voting members. So you want a certain number of ex officio non-voting members to
Right.
be part of this committee. So you are looking in section 1B to add another sentence. It says that in addition, there'll be ex officio members, including the manager, director of public works, chief of police, chief of fire, beach patrol, and such other city employees as the manager may from time to time designate. Is that what you want?
Yes.
Don't forget the fire chief, too.
Or they're designated.
Okay, double that up.
Or their designees.
Or
correct.
acting.
Yeah.
Are you texting Rob Rubino right now?
And just so I'm clear, I know we talked about the chiefs and heads of those departments, but it would also be their designees, because I know, just
Yeah.
making sure.
But Ed has the authority to bring whoever he wants.
Right.
That's the way, that is the way what we are now talking about will be written.
Yes. And,
Including the city attorney.
are you,
That'd be important, sure.
Bam.
Hey,
and always being concerned about your time management, you are meeting monthly? Because the ordinance calls for you to, shall meet
Well,
monthly.
Yeah, I mean, is that, I don't know that you have that in the other bodies, right? They meet when they need to meet.
Yeah, I don't think you want to put in, specify when you, I mean, you may not need to meet in January or, right,
Typically meet March through
right, so,
September, October.
May.
should meet as needed?
Yeah.
what do you want, monthly meetings from
They
May
don't-
to?
they don't
from-
need monthly meetings,
You
I
don't,
don't
from May to October, you don't want to do that?
Yeah, meet as needed.
As the chair calls for it.
Yeah.
Fine. So that's what D1 will become.
Okay.
They will meet, as the chair designates.
I mean, they could be monthly if they wanted to, but I don't
Yeah,
necessarily.
actually, the second sentence in D1, if we strike the word additional and say, meetings of the beach committee shall be scheduled by the chair at his or her discretion, that's what you want.
Yes, that's
So
fine.
we strike the first sentence, and then we strike the first word of the second sentence, and you have what you want. Right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's good when you do your work here. Okay. So Fred, are we okay with this? We had a motion and a second?
You have it, well, the fact that it's been introduced without these changes, you might, what would be in order is a motion to amend in accordance with this discussion, then you'd vote on the amendments, an affirmative vote would mean, yes, I accept the amendments, then you would have a motion, then you would call the motion on the ordinance itself.
Okay.
So a motion to amend adopting these ordinance would be in order.
All right. So a motion to amend the ordinance as discussed.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Now we need a roll call
On the ordinance
on the
itself,
ordinance.
as amended.
As amended.
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Jalupri,
Fred, just clarification, the changes that you make during the course of a meeting, these are covered by your meeting stipend, right? We don't get billed extra for this?
The fact that I articulated them now is,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Mayor Gunther.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Resolution 2017-30, authorizing the tax assessor as the agent in adjustment appeals to reduce assessments. We have a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
And Roxanne, I guess this is if there are any errors or transcription.
This comes, Mayor, at the request of the County Tax Board Administrator. It has been revised since the original version that was put out on the website. It is fairly simple. It's a resolution to authorize the tax assessor to file a petition of appeals for the tax year 2017. And essentially it says, I guess, shall I read it?
No.
Okay. Essentially says our tax assessor has the authority to file these type of appeals
Yes.
in 2017.
For a variety of reasons. Okay.
Oh.
Any discussion?
Yeah, the version, I think, that's the final version, also empowers the assessor to both file and to defend tax appeals at the county board for this year. The original version, which I know was not a Fred product, I think we borrowed it from another town, was referring to a different statutory section altogether for the correction of errors, and that stuff goes to the tax court rather than to the county board. I spoke to the county tax administrator this afternoon, and she clarified that she has asked all 23 communities in the county, and we're the last, to provide a formal resolution authorizing someone, the assessor in every case, to be our representative at the county board, to file appeals for us, to defend appeals, and, you know, in the normal course of things, to settle or resolve them. So that's my understanding of the scope of authority that the county administrator is looking for us to be giving.
Okay. Could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Jalupri,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, resolution 2017-31 is authorizing participation in National Joint Powers Alliance, NJPA, for contract number 070313, DAC, for grounds maintenance and related equipment, accessories, and supplies with Deere and Company for tractor loader. We have a motion and a second, please.
Second. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Third.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Ed?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. The next two resolutions are fairly similar. They're both authorizing the purchase of a John Deere tractor. It is through a cooperative program that we're recommending doing this. The two pieces of equipment, one is, well, the first one that we're looking at right now is $41,490. The second one is $197,900. The second one includes the beach cleaner, and essentially the two pieces of equipment will be used by Public Works to maintain our beaches, to maintain our dune paths. So they have, it has an arm with the mower similar to what you see on the expressway and such. It'll be used to control brush in our ditches, along our roadways, things of that nature. Like I said, to pull the beach cleaner, which is also included in the second resolution, the $197,000 will be the beach cleaner.
God bless.
I think it will be used to till our fields, aerate our fields, things like that. So two pieces of equipment, both John Deere. One's a very large one, the second one, the first one is a smaller one. The amount is, like I said, $41,490. John can't be here. George is here if you need any other. if you have
George,
any
this
questions.
replaces the 1966 grader?
Unfortunately, nothing has replaced that this time. Basically, we're trying to, get back into the 20th century with some better beach cleaning equipment. This is a similar piece of equipment that you would see on Atlantic City, Ventnor beaches, Wildwood, Cape May, down that area. It's basically a large agricultural tractor that pulls a Beach Tech beach cleaner to help, do a better job of cleaning rather than us, currently, doing our raking system that we're doing right now. The smaller piece of equipment is going to be utilized for additional maintenance on the beach paths. We're trying to control that vegetation from growing over now that we don't have a lot of that fencing and stuff in place. So we've been getting a lot less complaints over the last few years that we've been doing it. This piece of equipment will certainly make the job a lot easier for us.
George, what's the expected lifespan of these pieces?
These probably about 20 years.
Thanks.
George, I know this is your first time, but never compare us to Atlantic City, please.
And
Just saying.
I'm going to ask, since we have discussed both of these, that we combine resolutions 217, 31, and 32. Going to the same, they're same piece of equipment, just two separate resolutions. So we need a motion to combine.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on the combined resolutions? Okay, seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre.
Yes.
Sarah,
Now, George, I like the comparison because I was going to ask the question, so you saved me from it, so thank you. And that's a yes.
Simpson,
Whatever Vince has said, yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Resolution 2017-33 is the appointment of the GIF Fund Commissioners and Alternate Fund Commissioners. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Could we have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, Resolution 2017-34 is the cancellation of real estate tax.
For everybody.
Not for everybody.
Nice try.
And it is for a permanently disabled war veteran. Nice try, though. Could we have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Could we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Mayor Gunther,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, we move to our consent agenda. We have the Hooked on Fishing request and the Art Walk request. Could we have a motion and a second, please?
Make that motion.
Second.
Could we have roll call?
Mayor, if we...
I have a question.
Oh, you have another one?
No, I don't have another one, but one of the items on the art walk, item number 7 in the letter that was
Right.
attached, talks about wine and art and serving alcohol on the public property, and it's our recommendation that council continue its practice of not allowing that, and we just strike that from this approval.
Okay, so we'll strike the wine from the approval.
Wait, where do they find this wine at?
I'm sorry? Oh. Okay, actually, it's on it's kind of a strange process, but when we do something on a consent agenda, we usually don't discuss it because these are things that we could probably all agree to, other than the wine. But since you didn't bring it up at the beginning, do you want to make a comment now? Sure. If you would, just identify yourself for the record.
Hi, I'm Julie Watkins. I'm very involved with the Art Walk. I'm also known as Connie Pyatt's right hand, unlike her husband Carl, who is her left hand. And the issue with the wine, we want to have, not wine, well, we do want to have wine every week, but we can't do that. So we would like to have one art walk during the 15 weeks where we invite local vendors, like people in New Jersey who produce wine, so that they can have like a wine tasting kind of event. Because the wine and arts do go together very well. Wine goes with most things.
So, yes,
And
it does.
it's not that we want to always, have wine events. And I think the farmer's market actually did something similar, where they had a winery there, and that's kind of where we got the idea.
According to Lisa McClay, she says no.
So, what I would tell you is this: I don't know if we're ready to even discuss this tonight without having legal counsel take a look at.
And we're fine not having it, but Connie did ask me just
Right.
to, and I did.
We have an ordinance that prohibits alcohol on municipal property. And I spoke with the chiefs, and this came back from all of us and including Public Works, we support it. We think every part of it is a great idea with the exception of the wine, and we think it would be successful without it.
So you want to amend it to Art and Red Solo Cup?
Well,
Thank you, Councilman.
I
We're gonna
kind
do
of
that,
agree
we
with
gotta make sure it goes, all sales goes through bootleggers. Buy at the boot, you save some loot.
All right, one more serious comment. I know a lot of other towns do these kind of things. They do the one-off events where you have alcohol, and in those towns, it's controllable. I know Hamilton forever has done, they've limited beer service when they do the, I forget the name of this, the San Gennaro Festival. And down in Margate, I think when they have their fall festival, they have beer service there. I mean, it is doable, and then maybe it wouldn't work for the art walk, and maybe, the security restrictions you'd need would be too strong, I don't know, but why can't we at least maybe put that off for further discussion, approve the art walk without the wine, but, leave the door open that if they want to come back and we can have a real discussion about the pros and the cons of it. Because I haven't, and I'm sure the people who have reviewed this have done so thoroughly and seriously, but I see it working in other places, and I don't know why we can't make it work.
Rick, I agree that we should at least have solicitor take a look at it and come up with the legal piece of it, and then we can discuss with public safety about their.
Well, you gotta get ABC
Yeah,
license.
you're going to need established vendors, and the established vendors have to go to ABC for a specific license for that one day. It can be done. There is a mechanism by which it can be done if you want to go down that path. So the answer is, it can be done.
Is there any conflict with the existing ordinance that we have in place? That's what you need to.
I would assume that you're going to authorize the event, and as long as everything is done in accordance with the ABC regulations, you're okay. I think we can get that far. But it is an ABC event where an established vendor has to come forward and do this and go to ABC, and I forget the exact title, what they call that one-day event, but there is a one-day event for these things to be done on public property.
One-day event permit.
Okay, well, I think that may be something we need to have some more thorough discussion about before we make a decision here tonight. I agree with Councilman, we can leave that off for now, approve the rest of it, and we can revisit this at a later date.
Yeah.
Okay. Could we have roll call on the consent agenda absent the wine right now?
You?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Mayor Gunther?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Council manager committee discussion?
Thank you, Mayor. Just an update on, we have completed the annual debt statement and also the annual financial statement. Both have been filed with the state. Both will be uploaded to our website in about the next week or so.
Great.
And that is all that I
I want to bring up one issue that is ongoing, but last Friday evening, Deputy Mayor Simpson and I attended the Atlantic County Mayors Association meeting in Summers Point, and the association passed a resolution, you may have seen it in the paper, supporting what the original pilot legislation enabled was for 13.5% of the amount that the Atlantic City would have paid to the county, putting that amount in, as opposed to changing that amount, which has been discussed recently. There was an agreement it was voted on unanimously back last year by all of the mayors, a bipartisan group of mayors in the county, that we would support the pilot if the county were to receive the 13.5%. There is discussion right now about the city, Atlantic City, not paying the county the 13.5%. And what it means to the city of Brigantine is probably about $330,000 in additional county taxes, which is about 1 cent on your county tax rate. And you know, in good faith, everyone supported that legislation, although I don't think we're happy with it in general, but it was proposed that the municipalities would see the county share being taken care of and not increasing the county share. So, you know, that resolution has been passed once again and reaffirmed by the mayors in Atlantic County that we believe we should get the 13.5%, meaning the county would receive that, which would reduce the county share as opposed to, I believe they're talking about 10.5%. Right now in Atlantic City, they're trying to reduce that by 3%. So, you know, here in Brigantine, we're doing everything we can to reduce taxes. We anticipate this year we'll have a reduction in taxes again. And it would be a shame to have a penny increase in our county tax at the time when our municipal taxes are going down, because the state really has not honored what they're supposed to do for Atlantic City, and Atlantic City you know, once again made a commitment at 13.5%, and I don't see how the rest of the county can subsidize it at this point, given everything that has transpired over the years in Atlantic City. So the fight is still on for our share, and we'll continue in that fight.
I just have one thing here, since we're doing all these committees tonight. The Recreation Committee, there's one gentleman we would like to take off because he hasn't showed up to any meetings, and replace him with a voting member. But we're going to keep him on as a non-voting member. Bob Jgoli, is that his name, Phil?
No, who are you going to put on?
Bob's going to come off.
Who you putting on?
Kathleen Bagel.
Okay, let's just move on, appointing Kathleen Beagle.
Okay.
Okay?
So I would like to make a motion for that.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that would appoint Kathleen Beagle, who was on, I believe, before.
She
so
had
somehow
not.
she got left
Yeah,
off.
she's
She got left off the list this
Okay,
time.
she's a
Okay.
voting member.
We also have amendments to the Cultural Arts Commission. We had Mary Jane Kelso and Connie Pyatt, who had resigned from the committee, and Marie St. Clair, who asked to be on the committee. So I would like to make a motion to make those changes to the Cultural Art Commission.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, very good. Any other council or committee discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about the beach erosion in the Second Ward, which, as we all know, the Second Ward goes from 19th Street south of Laguna up to 14th, the end of the island. But the beach erosion at the wall has caused a lot of concern with some of the, in the community around the wall there this summer. So I talked to Ed, and we, thank God, we have the, he had been in contact with the Army Corps engineer about our replenishment in the fall, and you want to talk about that, Ed? So the bottom line is, thank goodness we have that plan for the fall, and Ed, you'll fill us in now.
Thank you, Councilman. I think I had reported previously to council. So I met with the Army Corps and the DEP. The Army Corps received funding for 2 declared storm events from over a year ago, one being Jonas, and right now I can't remember the second. That funding will fund a replenishment project. Essentially, the way that works is you calculate what the losses were associated with each of those storms. The Army Corps gets funding then to replace that amount of sand. Army Corps told me that's about 500,000 cubic yards of sand. Our discussion was simply the timing. They are on schedule to have that project out to bid and possibly construct, or probably construct this fall. They can't make the summer. We tried to get them to expedite it, but they haven't even done the topo of the beaches, at least at the point that I met with them. That actually works in our favor because of the erosion that we just saw this past week. When they do come out to do their topo to plan for the replenishment, it'll be what is actually there. So we'll see a placement that will be concentrated on the north end by the seawall.
So they can add to the amount, they can add to the 500 cubic yards.
So that is a question. It'll be 500,000. I've asked if we can participate in an add, a 3-way share above that 500, which would be Army Corps, State, and the City of Brigantine. So I haven't gotten an answer on that yet, but that's.
So we're
looking
lucky
at
that we have that plan for the fall.
We are fortunate that
The
time, that funding.
Upper East Side will be replenished.
Now, I saw some pictures that last week, some of the walkways were damaged.
Walkways were damaged. We saw a lot of erosion from the dune face on the north end. So all that would be part of this Army Corps project. Again, they're just in the very preliminary. They just received the funding.
Right.
So now they start the design phase.
So will there be any stairways for the summer?
Unlikely that they will build stairways. That's going to be something that we talk with Public Works.
Okay.
And we look to berm and things of that sort.
But we
rather
will be able to
than
have some
structure.
kind of access, we're hoping to. Okay.
Where would the sand come from? Just because I had some questions. People were asking if it was being trucked in. Is it quarry sand? Is it beach sand?
This volume of sand, it's very unlikely that they will do a truck project, so it's likely it'll be the traditional borrow from the north end inlet and pump and pipe it to the beach.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to open the meeting for public comment on any items. Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to ask a question before I go into my public comment.
Sure.
I don't know if this is out of line.
Name and address, Jim.
All right, I'll be before I did the whole thing. Jim Conti, 108 North Roosevelt Boulevard. Last meeting, council meeting, Mrs. Phillips brought up an item, followed by, and councilman also commented. I want to know, am I allowed to comment on that, or do I have to wait till next meeting? It was,
You can
brought up
comment on
again.
whatever you like.
Okay, the thing I'm talking about is the contract. Mrs. Phillips brought up about the contract.
Oh, okay.
Councilman commented on it. I didn't want to comment on it last time we were here because I wanted to do my homework first, to say something. I have a copy of 3 newspapers, 3 different businesses, 3 different unions, two very large unions. Article number 1, I won't recap, I'll just give you a fast thing, I'll be very quick, you know, to keep my time short. The general manager made a comment in here about what was being discussed with the contract. In here, it was sent to the newspaper from the union, the breakdown of the whole contract. At the end of this day, they still don't have a contract. Negotiations were still going on. Didn't hear nothing about labor law. I know this company definitely has a union, and in that union, they have a labor lawyer. I'm sure that company does, because my company did, my union did.
Is that a public sector union?
This one here?
Yes.
I don't quite understand what you mean, public sector.
Is it a government?
It's not a government union.
Okay.
Okay. The second one here, I'll answer that first. Not a government union. Very big company. Okay, very big union. Okay, it was broken down in here. What was discussed in the contract, what they were going to vote on. The union said, we'll be taking it to our members. The members shot it down. That was the day of this meeting. It was discussed in the paper. Contract still going on. Third one, again, company, again, not a government union. It's broken down what was discussed in the contract. Still didn't have a contract at the end of the day. So that's 3 different companies, different newspapers. My point is, no one could, I know they had lawyers. I don't know where labor law, how come it didn't come out in any of these? And all she asked for, Mrs. Phillips, which I agree with the council, and I still can't understand because you'll see it's totally different here. I know we've heard from our lawyer, and our lawyer said, well, during negotiations, you can't discuss labor law. Well, it's been discussed in 3 times in 3 different articles here. 3 different unions, 3 different companies. All Mrs. Phillips asked, which I happen to agree with, was once the contract was presented to the union, if I understand, I ain't gonna put word for word, in her mouth. Once they have the contract, their members agree to the contract, it comes back to you, Mayor, City Council, you vote on it, the contract is enacted. I know the councilman said, well, you know, the same thing as Mrs. Phillips, when it goes back from the union to you, why can't we find out what it is before you vote on it? Now, they did it in a newspaper here, 3 different companies, 3 different unions. I don't understand why there's no labor law problem here, but it's only a brigantine.
I think what you'll find is that the terms of, we will discuss at the meeting when it is voted on. There will be some discussion about what the increase or decrease is, what some of the things that are included in that contract are at the time that we have that meeting, when we bring it before council. If it's a 1% increase, we'll say this contract represents a 1% increase. There are these changes in the rules that govern work. But what you're asking is, can you have that work product before it's voted on here at a council meeting? And I have not seen that done in the public sector. Fred, I don't know if you have or not.
No, this is not a new topic.
Right.
We do this with regularity multiple times a year, and the answer hasn't changed from my seat, and as I understand it, the answer hasn't changed from the seat of our labor council. So the answer remains the same.
Right. I mean, there are different laws that govern public employees with PERC and everything else that it's different than the private sector.
Okay, so if I understand that right, no change. It's basically because the difference, the public sector and the city, is that what you're trying? Because all I don't understand, Mayor, what I'm asking is I'd rather have you, instead of me telling me labor law, I'd rather have you tell me just to my face, man, we're not going to do it, we're not going to let you know.
I'm going to give you a way.
I'm just trying to explain real fast.
But I'm going to tell you a way that you can look at every contract that presently exists within the city of Brigantine. You can go to the PERC website, New Jersey PERC. You can punch in, it's a search engine there, you can pick up every contract that is in force right now. You can look at those contracts. When we come before this meeting, we may not get as specific as, you know, this word has changed in this section of the contract, but what we will talk about is, You know, they are getting, the police department, just using them as an example, they're getting a 1% increase, they're getting a decrease in the number of days off, and they're getting X, Y, and Z. Before we have that discussion here in public, before we vote on it. You can go look at that contract right now. Public employee contracts are they're public documents, and they exist.
They're signed, sealed contracts. Now, all I'm trying to say, Mayor, is, I'm just, again...
And what I can tell you is that
none of these
contract that's
contracts were
voted on
signed.
is not going to differ greatly from the contract that is existing, other than the financial element and some language changes. And like, for instance, in the last police contract, a whole new step system that was voted on and talked about. So I'm following the advice of our attorney.
And Jim, don't forget, it's just not Ed walking in one time and saying this is what we're gonna give them, or not gonna give them, or anything like that. It's a back and forth thing. It goes on for months and months and months. And we have the decision. Ed comes in and says, this is my recommendation. Every person on here says yes, no, or this is what we like to have changed.
I understand. All the part I didn't understand was, all the meetings I've been coming to down here, all the contracts that I've heard about down here, and I've been sitting here listening to, these papers broke out what was offered to the union beforehand.
Right.
Then the union got, it seemed, I don't ever remember coming to meeting finding out what was being offered to these unions
Jim.
beforehand,
Well,
and
I
I
don't
never
think you're
found,
gonna-
I never
Can
found
I-
out, I never
can-
found, well, I understand that, Mayor, I'm just saying.
Jim, I'd just like to say something. I'm very familiar with I was involved in a work stoppage for 6 weeks back in March, April, and up to May. And initially, there was things published on what we were offered, and then at a certain stage, there was a gag order, and we didn't hear a thing until finally the negotiations had ended, and it was brought to us to vote. And once we voted on it, it was brought out to the public, what Verizon employees got.
That's
So-
who I work for.
Right. So the thing is, I'm not disagreeing with you that, whether or not to hear it beforehand, and I'll go along with the process here. But I'm just saying, there are a lot of places also where there's a gag order put in place until negotiations are done and contracts are approved.
I understand that. I put 36 and a half years here, and I am, what's the name? A member of CWA 13,000.
Good.
Okay, so I've been down that road. I've been on strike. with
Right,
them.
so you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I do, but
Right,
what
yeah.
the key word you used was there was a gag order. I've never heard in here a gag order. All I'm trying to ask is, I don't care if that's what you decide to do. What I don't understand is, in the newspaper, there's, a matter of fact, I'll tell you one of the unions that you know that's with IBEW, not a small union. United Auto Workers, not a small union. They're two very big unions. And I don't understand why they can do it, and they don't get upset with their labor lawyers, but we don't hear it here. That's all that's all I'm just asking, like, you know, out of curiosity. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. If it's breaking laws, that's also fine. I'm just asking, that's why
Well,
I
like
asked the
you
question.
said, we're following legal
And-
counsel's
well, that's
advice.
fine.
Yeah.
That's fine, that's all. I just seen what I did put out in the newspaper, and I was just wondering out of curiosity why they can do it and
But
we
that-
can't.
but that's-
And Mayor
that's-
said we're following the laws that the lawyer presents. Okay, well, that's my answer.
But that,
We're not.
you know, that's negotiating in public, which we don't do in the public sector. We don't say, you know, we offered the police 0 and they want 6%. I mean, you don't do that in the public sector, and
Sounds about right.
you know, where we,
And I understand it, but I remember Mrs. Phillips saying, you know, the taxpayers have a right to know. That's why I followed up on it. Okay, I don't want to take no more, thank
Okay.
you for your
Thank
time, I
you.
appreciate your
Let
time.
me respond, if I could, briefly to Jim. Every time this subject comes up, we immediately go off the tracks and start talking about things that aren't germane. And Jim, the point being initially, we are bound by different rules as a public body and dealing with public unions. There are certain rules which we have to follow, which maybe a private employer and a private union don't have to do. But leaving that aside, the only question that was posed by Mrs. Phillips more than once, and that I addressed last time, and a question which still hasn't been answered. We keep saying every time, we can't negotiate in public. Everybody gets that. We can't, we don't. Nobody's talking about negotiating in public. And to say that we, on the night that we're about to adopt a contract, and it's before us, that the public can rely on whatever discussion may or may not happen from us, well, that's really not a satisfactory substitute for them being aware of what it is we're adopting. So the question that was posed, and still not answered, on the night when a contract is before us to be adopted, and it only gets before us when the negotiations are done. So there's not any talking about revealing what's going on in the course of negotiations over however many months, but that's done. The union has approved it and sent it to us for our up or down vote. On that night, why could, and minutes before, we as a council are going to discuss it in whatever level of detail, why could a draft copy of the proposed agreement not be made available to the public? That is a document which is either going to be voted up or down. It's not going to be renegotiated or negotiating more. We're not negotiating on that night when we're sitting up here to vote on it. There's no reason other than a policy decision that we would make not to make that available to the public, and I don't know why we would do that, because it's kind of silly for us to say that what usually ends up being a 50 or 60 page contract is something that the people can have a firm understanding of, or a complete understanding of, based on whatever couple of things we may choose to talk about. You know, maybe there are the high points, you know, that it's a 1% increase or expansion of the salary guide or whatever it might be, but if we're voting on a contract, we're voting on a fully unified document, the 50 or 60 page document, why would it be any different at that point than for any other contract or any other purchase order or whatever else we do in the course of a meeting that the people wouldn't be able to see the backup to it? There's no legal impediment at that point in time. So is it the will of council that when we get to the point on our upcoming contracts that it's before us and it's on the agenda, having been fully negotiated and approved by whichever union is involved, that we do not want to let the people see the document that we're about to vote up or down?
It's the next day. What's the difference?
Is that?
I don't know what the difference would be, Rick, if we gave it 2 minutes before, or are they going to go on the website right after their meeting?
Well, Andy, because before it's voted on, and leaving aside that any individual up here may very well have made up his or her mind, that's not why we have public meetings. We have public meetings so that the public can get up and ask whatever questions they think are germane. And, you know, I would propose and I would favor a completely different system where we made it available once the negotiation was done and the contract had been approved by the union and sent to us. I would say give it to the public, publish it on our website in advance of the meeting, and then they can be as informed as they want to be and ask whatever questions they want. But even if you only gave it to them the night of the meeting, they at least have a couple of minutes to go over it and see what questions they want to ask. And if the questions they ask don't move anybody, that's fine. You know, we're the people who ultimately have to vote. If the questions do raise other questions or concerns, then I think everybody's benefited from that, because now you have the opportunity to talk through something which maybe we didn't think of, or other considerations we hadn't given weight to.
So,
Doesn't
Rick,
change your
what do
decision.
you do at that point? Do you had a union ratify a contract based on good faith that you said that you had the support from your governing body to approve? And then you're going to go back and renegotiate the points at the point after we've already completed the
Sure.
negotiations because someone doesn't like one of the terms that are in that contract?
Phil, the good faith...
I will take, when Labor Council tells us this is a process, and our city solicitor tells us this is a process that makes any sense and is legal, then I would consider it. But right now, I don't. When, in good faith, that goes before the body to be ratified, and they have agreed to those terms. So at the point that we come back in, if you don't want to vote for the contract, you can vote no. If you do want to support that contract, then you vote yes.
Phil, you've just described a completely ridiculous system that doesn't even require council.
It's a system that is probably, I don't know if it's used any differently anywhere else. Fred, have you seen it anywhere else that's been?
No, Phil, let me finish what I'm saying. Ridiculous that if the mere fact that we negotiate in good faith, which I take as a given, we don't negotiate in bad faith with any of the unions, but that results in an agreement which nonetheless has to come before us in public for a formal vote and for discussion before the public. That doesn't mean that because we acted in good faith and because the union has a pretty good feeling that this is going to be sellable and the council's going to adopt it, that we are in fact going to adopt it. We could vote it down. The fact that at any given time, the union and the city seem to be on the same page, that doesn't mean that you can just eliminate or ignore the final and most important step where we actually vote on the thing.
I disagree.
Here, Rick, is just the essence of like properly government elected officials doing the right thing for the people. There's the whole not binding, non-binding arbitration. It's negotiated against, when I was in the state police and other police organizations, fire organizations, it's a comparative process as it moves along. And there's a little give and take maybe for certain numbers, but they're all, both sides just come to a meeting point. And if someone doesn't do their job, if we don't do our job, the people are gonna tell us that. So it's our job to represent the people and just get a good contract that's fair for the city. And obviously the unions are gonna work to get something that's fair for their workers. That's the way it works. I mean,
Dennis, I understand.
And I disagree that what the mayor said was ridiculous.
in that way as well.
Dennis, we're not talking about not acting or negotiating in good faith, but we also know, we don't do the negotiating. We get reports back, and we give guidance, and you end up with a product. The product has to be voted on by us. The only issue being discussed here is, when we are at that point, do we or do we not tell the people, and remember, we're not like a private employer. A private employer doesn't have to let anybody in the room when they decide whether or not to approve a contract after their negotiations. We have to do it at a public meeting. We have to do it in front of the people. So if tonight, one of the items on the agenda is approval of the police contract, for example, that's a 60-page document. We may be fully familiar with it, or at least familiar with the changes from the last agreement. We may have formed, and probably have formed, our own opinions as to what we're going to do and how we're going to vote. That doesn't take out of the equation everybody out there. They are the people who, by law, have the right to be at the meeting. They have the right to hear what is anything that may be said about it and the actions that we're going to take, because that's what the law says. The Open Public Meetings
And they
Act
have
says
the
it
right
has
to
to
vote
happen.
people out if they think they did not do their job.
Okay.
In our case, the contracts were just, we worked it in a certain way that gave a
let
fair working, that was a
Let me
fair working
remind you that
agreement.
we are in public participation, so we can have a debate at council at some point if this is an issue that the majority of council feels that we need to change. This is a process that's been in place all over the state. Mr. Cerny, you've been doing this a long time. I don't know if anybody else has deviated from the process that we're using. But right now, I'd like to hear from the public. Anyone else want to comment? Yes, Mrs. Phillips.
A&H Phillips, 308 27th Street. I hadn't planned to speak on this. I would invite you all to read The Beachcomber this Friday. BTA has put in an ad on this subject, which I think raises some points which you should consider. And Mr. Haney, based on your comments, the question would be, what's the point of council voting at all? If you followed your logic, that's where we would be. Council has a duty to vote, yes or no. That doesn't mean it's negotiating. Those negotiations are finished at that point. And this business of saying that the public becomes a third party is false. It does not.
That was not said, ma'am.
What?
It wasn't said that the
No,
public
you were
becomes a
questioning
third
the
party.
vote in terms of good faith. Because yes, the city supposedly and allegedly is acting in good faith, as is the union. That doesn't mean that because they're acting in good faith, you are then supposed to approve that document.
Supposedly and allegedly are rather interesting ways to describe the process that's being used. But, once again, we're not going to agree on this, Mrs. Phillips. I'm going to follow the advice of our attorneys. If that advice changes, we'll let you know. And by the way, the Brigantine Taxpayers Association had a meeting. How many members do you have in your association? When was the meeting held?
What are you talking about?
Well,
And what
last meeting I
difference is-
asked you how many members were in your association, and you didn't know.
That's private information, Mayor Gunther.
Well, I
And
think
we're a
the
private
information-
organization,
Might want
sir.
to-
Excuse me. That's
Well,
not
it's a-
relevant, Mayor Gunther,
It
so
is.
please don't go off on
It's
a...
a taxpayers' organization. I think the taxpayers really, that you're representing all the taxpayers, have a right to know how many people are in your organization and when do you meet.
But,
When are you
Phil,
voting?
really, you're browbeating her about, it's a
That
private
is totally
organization. She's
irrelevant.
not, they're
We've
not an
had
arm of the
people who
city,
are
they get no
interested
money
who
from
have
the
joined.
city.
Well,
That has
Rick, I'm
nothing to
just-
do
Miss-
with this.
Rick, if you wanna
Why
pander to
don't,
Mrs.
Mayor
Phillips, that's
Gunther,
your
why
business,
don't you
but-
stay on topic?
I am on
Because,
top.
no,
I
you
gave
brought
you
up
an
a
answer,
subject.
Mrs. Phillips, I gave you an answer to the question you asked, and my answer is this. I'm following the advice of our council. It is a process in public bodies that I have not seen any change in the time that I've been involved. And if there's some other directive that comes out through another, we'll take a look at it, that's for sure.
Well, you talked about the law and following the law and the Labor Council, et cetera. Will you please cite the law that says you cannot make this agreement public by the time it reaches the council and is put on council's agenda? Cite that law for us, because there isn't any. Now, we're not talking about third-party negotiations. The negotiations have been finished. That's the point at which the public should have a right to know what's in that contract.
we believe
And
in
it is not
transparency,
being
Mrs.
party
Phillips.
to a contract or the negotiations. You're confusing negotiations with a completed agreement, and it is misleading. And in a
Well-
sense, it's insulting to the public, the taxpayers. We will be paying for that contract, not for 1 year, but for 4. People need to know what's in it.
Nobody's insulting the taxpayers, right?
Pardon me?
We have the taxpayers' interests at heart. Absolutely.
Taxes have been
Well, you can say that,
lowered
but
the
that
last
doesn't
couple of
mean
years.
that...
I can say it, I can mean it, I
The
can tell you
taxes are
that
going
it's
down
written
this
about
year.
my heart.
I can say that as well, simply
Ms.
because
Phillips,
I'm an
you said you
You didn't
individual.
imply that just now.
However, let's look at the
Not us.
facts and what legally you can do. And there is nothing that prevents you from allowing the public to see that completed, negotiated agreement before you vote on it. And your vote should not be a guarantee simply because the city manager approved the agreement. You, as individuals, have a right to look at it and say yes or no.
Mrs. Phillips, thank you. And once again, not surprised that you found an issue in a year when we're lowering taxes to bring forward, but I
This
appreciate-
issue
I
has
appreciate
been
your
brought up,
concern.
Mayor Gunther, on numerous occasions over the years because it is valid and it needs to be discussed by public bodies, because I think you have all been, shall we say, in a sense, brainwashed that you cannot bring
I
this before
resent that. I
the public.
resent, I don't think I've been brainwashed.
Mrs. Phillips.
I just want to say that.
At one point, you were a member of council. You went through the negotiations process, although you forgot you voted on a police contract many years ago. But, you know, this is the process that has been in place since the time you sat
Yes,
on
I'm
city
aware of it, but I don't think it's a fair process. I don't think it has been really researched in terms of its legality. And it's something that you should be willing to do because you will be serving the people and informing them.
I
An
think
informed public is better than an ignorant
We are serving the
one.
people, and I think they're well informed. But thank you, Mrs. Phillips.
Well, thank you for your time.
John?
Good evening, John Livesey, 203 9th Street North. Apologize for being late. I'm here on behalf of the Brigantine Municipal Alliance. I got a notice from the Brigantine Public Schools about they're presenting a Spread the Love seminar or symposium. It's a SAMI symposium, and SAMI stands for Suicide, Addiction, and Mental Illness. This symposium is going to be held at the Brigantine North Middle School Auditorium on Thursday, February 9th at 6:30 p.m. The doors will open about 6 o'clock. I just received this flyer, a couple days ago, and they're going to be discussing, let's see, the correlation between depression and social media, the signs and symptoms of mental illness, signs and symptoms of addiction, stress relievers, and what to do for friends or family members in trouble. And I believe there's going to be a police review of drug paraphernalia as well. And I just want to pass that on as a point of information.
Thank you, John. I want to thank the school district for sponsoring that.
And if I may, if I can touch one thing about the contracts. The contracts, once they're signed, they're public, right?
Yes.
So the one that's in existence now is public and available. It's
posted on the state's website.
So if people, concerned citizens, they could go review that contract, and if there's any issues on that contract that concern them, why couldn't they make an issue beforehand and present it to council and say, here's our issues that we would like to make, rather than during the process of discussing? It seems like that's a,
Makes sense.
instead of being proactive, they're reacting, and I think it's a good opportunity to be proactive to get the contract off the site, the current contract, and address the things that it concerns the citizens.
That's a good point.
That's what I would do.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Council.
John, thank you.
Yes, John?
John Pucci, 100 Sheridan Square. It was on the agenda, I'm sorry, the request for the Municipal Alliance, was
The
there a
Hopewell
request
Fishing-
to approve that date
Yeah, that was
tonight?
part of the consent agenda. We did that.
Okay, you did,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Also, just a reminder, it also may have already been in there, for the farmer's market, the lobby, I believe, was left open for the bathrooms and the water fountain and the artwork. I guess it's assumed that that's going to be there also for that evening event. Just something to bring up, that the people are going to need the lavatories at that time also.
It's a good point, John. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Chief Bennett, I'd like to give a shout out to one of your officers. I don't know who the gentleman is, but last week's Northeaster, I walked out on my deck during 50-mile-an-hour rainy winds, and there was an officer down below at my corner on Bayshore Avenue. He was wearing a firearm, authorized to use deadly force. He was wearing a bulletproof vest, and he was out there putting cones in the street for safety concerns so people wouldn't drive through the water. And I was a little bit embarrassed to myself that I walked back into my safe home and that officer was out there protecting me during that storm. And also I also realized that Public Works were out there during that Northeaster keeping Brigantine safe. So I just wanted to shout out to the Public Work Director, employees, George, and Chief, to your officers for that.
Thank you, John.
What I'm about to say, I already had in my notes to come here tonight before the previous discussion. As far as the contracts, I've asked them, I mentioned them last meeting, so my comments are not from the prior discussions. I know that since Deputy Mayor Simpson is involved, these are going to get done. But I have Oprah'd the current contracts. I have them. I did my due diligence. And some of the things that Mr. Lively mentioned, I already had planned to do tonight before he mentioned them. And specifically, what I would like to mention to the council is the contracts that are under negotiations now. I believe it's the police department and Public Works. The health benefits. This resident from this mic is requesting and suggesting to this council that our employees have at least the same health benefits that any other comparable shore community has in New Jersey. Let it be said that no other comparable town should have better health benefits for their employees than Brigantine. Secondly, as far as the junior personnel and the startup personnel, it is my belief that those employees, those startup employees, and the one have been here not so long, that in your consideration, and I know you have plenty of information and parameters as guidance, because I have also negotiated public contracts in my past. But it is my comment, it is this resident's comment that in your negotiations, that those junior personnel, the consideration, however you may feel, that they at least have the opportunity to live in the city of Brigantine, where all this, and be part of all this goodness, and all these councils, and all these clubs, and all these events that were happening in Brigantine, that they have the opportunity to live here and be part of all that. So I'm not going to go over specific numbers, but I'm asking you respectfully that these two topics be in your overall conceptual negotiations on how the final settlement is on the city's contracts. And lastly, most important, of everything that has transpired tonight, please, any cards or flowers that are sent to Mr. Doring from the city, at least from this mic, this resident, please include our condolences, the residents of the city of Brigantine's condolences in your correspondence. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. Are there any council comments?
I just want to make a quick comment about the Cultural Arts Commission. This past Sunday, they had a get-together down at the Cove. They put on Puccini's Suor Angelica opera. It was well-attended, very good. One girl she hit such high notes there, the water was rippling in the glasses. I'm not kidding. They have another, Mary DeMarco and her committee and the commission do a great job. And there's a paint party coming up at the end of the month, February 26th at 1 p.m. They do a great job with stuff. So if you haven't painted and you're into painting, check it out. Thank you.
Karen, you have something? Oh, you look like you had something. Anybody else? No, I'm done. Okay, very good. Going to need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Once again, I want to thank everyone who came this evening and participated in our meeting, and I want to thank those of you who are viewing at home, tuning into your council work. Have a good night.
And thank George for being here.
Yeah.